What's going on, everybody? We're back. Another Freight podcast. I'm your host, Robert Bain, with my co-host, Whitney Cowell. Whitney, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful. Good to have you back.
Good to be back. Missed out on the last one.
No, I know. It was a busy one, but it was good. So, hey, dynamic duo is back, so we're gonna have some fun today. Yeah, I'm super excited about our guest today too. Like, this is gonna be a fun conversation. We were talking, before via email and text. It's fun because we're all just friends and we just get to chat and talk logistics stuff. So, but before we do that, Whitney, what has been going on? How you been the last couple of weeks? What's new?
I have been great. I am loving what I'm doing inside and outside of work. Loving what I'm doing with freight movement at this point. So some coffee meetups, some really successful things, on behalf of the community aspect of what we're here to do, and an announcement to make once our guest joins us today.
I know, it's exciting. Can you talk about the coffee meetups a little bit? Like, what have you been doing? Kind of how those gone?
Yeah, so it's been fun. We've only done 2 so far, but I have 3 more lined up through the end of the year, with probably a 4th one that might just be a little pop-up thing here in town. But the goal is to sit down and network. And I don't mean like a networking event, right? That's what the freight movement events are. These are very intimate, like 3 to maybe 10. It's really been 3 to 5 people where we just kind of sit down and talk about what we're bringing to the table. It's marketers, it's ops leaders, CEOs, sales leaders, you name it, across the board, title wise, we're showing up, talking about what we're seeing with our audiences, and within our organizations.
That's awesome. I think those intimate settings, especially outside of like the bar scene, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I certainly enjoy it. There is a different level of connection, which I think is super cool. And to be able to, I think that's one of the goals of freight movement, is we want to be able to offer that at all levels, right? Because not everybody's gonna be able to make some of the other events we do. But like, hey, these are super cool. I know I've kind of looked at a couple spots here in Chicago to do one as well. So hopefully we'll be able to
get you. I'm so excited to come to Chicago. I feel like we should do like 3 in Chicago, just because there's so many people to invite. But fingers crossed for what's going to happen in 2025.
Big things. Speaking of big things, one, on my side, life is crazy as always, with the baby, and I think there will probably be a Violet update on almost every episode, but
we're here for it. We love it.
Yeah, and I wish she was awake. I'd let her pop in real quick, but she is, as I talked about in the green room, she's mobile, agile, hostile. She is very much, her mother's daughter, but she's moving, she's crawling, and she's starting to transfer stuff on furniture, up, and it's so beautiful to watch and to see it from the perspective of, she's not my kid, but I'm definitely connected to her. And I hold this with a deep sense of pride that I am her second favorite person other than my daughter. And it doesn't matter who she's with. If she hears me walk in the room and say, "Hey, kiddo," it's over. It's, "Where's Papa?" And that is something I just, gets the old enlarged heart very excited. So
sounds like she's going to be following in your footsteps as a strong one.
We've joked about it a lot. The doctors have specifically remarked that her legs are enormous. So like, just and which they are, and like, this totally tracks. Like, this is my kid, or my kid's kid. But her feet are huge for a young lady, and I'm like, okay, we'll have to deal with that. But and people will talk about how like a baby's and a small person's, like, their grip strength is very large for their size. She has pulled out parts of my beard. She is like, oh yeah, like this little girl has, and I'll say this with a bit of bias because, again, she's my granddaughter, but my daughter was an incredible deadlifter. She's her favorite event in gymnastics was bars, because she had such good grip strength. I'm like, I see where this is going, and mine is pretty decent as well. So I'm like, here we go, got another one.
In the family. I love that.
We're with it, and Lily wants to get her into gymnastics as soon as she can. We'll get her under a bar when it's the right time. And yeah, I'm all about physical culture, especially for young ladies. Like, I want every woman in my family to be strong and bad to the bone and to intimidate weak men. So I'm cool with
it. I love that. And as a former gymnast, do it. Absolutely see where her strengths are. That's amazing.
What was your favorite event? I have to ask them.
Also bars. That was the one that I was good at and I enjoyed.
Floor is a separator because floor is one thing. It's awesome. I love floor. Beam, little scary. Something about bars though, where you're at least for a couple seconds, right? You don't know where you are in space, and that's terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, not gonna talk about sports. But yeah, so big news. This was announced earlier this week as of this recording. Platform Science and Trimble, not a partnership. This is an actual acquisition where Platform Science has acquired Trimble's telematics business, which is not small. And
not at all.
And in exchange, Trimble also has a 32.5% ownership stake in Platform Science. So I'm reading all the numbers right. So this is big, and it was very timely because, again, as of this recording, this is actually Trimble's Insight Conference out in Las Vegas. So they made the announcement during the first couple hours of that event.
Yeah, they made it Sunday, right?
Correct. And I got some rumblings of this before the announcement was made. It was the Trimble was involved. Didn't know the other party, but it was going to be very impactful to the industry, and it is. This is big because Platform Science has an incredible solution. Now getting access to the large customer base that is Trimble and their connection to Trimble's additional ecosystem, this could be potentially industry shaking when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'm a little impressed at how quickly the turnaround for that announcement was. I mean, it was very smart timing to do that at a Trimble event. So it kind of felt like a out of nowhere moment. Like normally I feel like there's a buildup and like maybe a soft launch of something to come. And this was sort of, it was a hard launch if I've ever seen one.
and I think it's great because, that there was talk that it was supposed to happen Friday and then it didn't. And some people were a little upset because we want to talk about this, but we can't. I actually dig it that they waited till Sunday because then everyone's there. And I can't imagine what the energy was in Las Vegas. Because one, you're in Las Vegas, and then this happens and you're there for that event. It's very well played. And they even said in some of the statements that this was strategic to do this before the conference to get it done so we can announce it.
Well, of course they waited till Vegas. They, needed to go out and celebrate afterwards.
Amen to that. There's plenty of places to do that in Vegas.
That was also smart because a lot of their clients and partners are in attendance. So I think that was a really good move. Honestly, I would have been a little disappointed had that gone through on Friday instead of Sunday in the right environment with the right people in person, which is something that you don't always get the opportunity to do. So I think that, not only from like a business perspective, but also from a PR perspective, very well done.
Definitely. And the only thing I would have said with having it on Friday is if I'm somebody who this directly impacts, or if I'm looking to, look at the other side of this, whether I'm Trimble or Platform Science and they're a partner of mine, I would have loved to have some time to digest it first before it got announced. But no, I agree with you. The PR, the excitement, the energy, top tier. Well, very well done. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, with that, we aren't going to do too many headlines because we need to get to our guest. Because speaking of top tier, our guest is awesome. I've known our guest for probably 2 to 3 years now, thanks to Word on the Street and Trey Griggs and Beta Consulting. She's absolutely incredible. I really don't have a whole lot of words that can describe her other than she is just an amazing human, an unbelievable business person, great mom. Her kid's pretty dope. I really couldn't say enough good things about our amazing guest we're about to bring in.
She's a powerhouse.
She is. And the president of the TMSA, Jennifer Karpus-Romain. And there she is in all of her glory. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
You guys can just be my hype people that follow me around and intro me anywhere I go. That was awesome.
It is one of my superpowers. I will say that.
How are you guys?
We're so glad to have you here. So I want to kick off by just asking, what's going on in the world of Jen?
Well, so many things are going on in the world of Jen. So at TMSA, the big thing that we're doing right now is getting ready to go to Executive Summit, which is in Hoboken, New Jersey, October 10th through 11th. And so we are full steam ahead on that event. And then, which I'm really excited about. It's a smaller event than our Elevate show, but it's really geared towards leaders. We do it right in budget season. And one of the big things that we're doing there is we're actually going through our benchmarking study. So to me, one of the biggest things that TMSA does is every other year we put together the sales and marketing benchmarking study. And it really goes through all types of things, sales and marketing, and it's a member only perk. And so you can benchmark what's going on in the industry today, but we've also been doing this every other year for the past 10 years. So you can benchmark against the ones from the past too, which I think is really cool. So like, how do you break down your sales team? How do you break down your marketing team? What is your marketing budget? What are you spending it on? What are you keeping in-house? How do you break down, are you meeting your sales quotas? If not, why? How have those changed from 2022 when we did this last year to now? So it's a really powerhouse piece of data. And so we're putting together the final pieces of that report. And then at Executive Summit, me and Sarah O'Hearn with Path Growth are actually going over that report and saying like, hey, these are the biggest key insights and what you should actually be doing about it. Because I feel like that's part of the battle. Then when you get all this data, you're like, okay, cool. And so we're trying to answer that. So really excited for that. I've been putting kind of my perspective in the report and building that out. So that's really cool. And then in like on a personal level, after Executive Summit is out, then like our big events at TMSA for the year are over. And then I'm going to London like a week after. I'm really pumped. We're taking Monroe in his first international trip. So we'll see how that goes. But we're taking him to like Legoland Windsor and staying in the Lego castle.
That is. Please tell me you're also taking him to the Harry Potter studios.
Of course.
Yes.
He will remember that for the rest of his life.
I totally have. So it's of course Halloween season, and so both Legoland
spooky season.
Yes, big fan of it. And so all of Legoland is decked out in Halloween stuff. And so we're all wearing like spiderweb t-shirts. And then for Harry Potter, he has one that says, I solemnly swear I'm up to no good. And me and Doug will
the Marauders map.
Yep. And it'll say mischief managed on our adult shirts. And Doug just has asked no questions with all of these things that just keep coming into the house. And he has removed. So some of this stuff is our Halloween decorations. So this is a call that I don't know if you were on that show, but they keep asking me on Word on the Street why my decorations aren't up. And I'm like, I really don't know where Doug puts them. Like and I think they're in the garage, like in the attic of the garage, but the ladder is broken. So at no point am I going up there or know how to. So like I have to wait for him to give me.
So was that strategic on his part? Or?
I think so. But it's really not, because then I just keep buying new stuff because I need it.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Yeah. I was like, give me my stuff or I will continue to buy new things to fill the house with. So
if you ever get out here towards us in Chicago, I have to introduce you to our neighbors. So they up their lawn game every year for Halloween. Currently, I can kind of see some of this from my chair. They've got a 15-foot tall Jack Skellington in front of the house. That's just like that's the centerpiece. They've got a new werewolf that they just got this year. Like a full animatronic werewolf that sits on the porch. They have, what were they telling us? 62 different pieces just on the front yard.
Oh my God.
And they're not done decorating yet. Mm-hmm. We have our inflatable dragon, and that's it.
We have some stuff. And then I actually bought like spotlights this year because most of our stuff you can see in the day, but you couldn't see as much at night. And I was like, well, that's a bummer, because like we were part of, like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it was like 10 houses in town that you have to see. Like we were part of that, but I was like, if you're at night, you can't see it as much. So I like just handed Doug, like, I was like, here you go. Where are the lights?
That's awesome. I love it. Anyway, back to TMSA.
Sure.
So how did you get involved with TMSA? I mean, you've been around marketing, you've been around transportation before previously, right? Can you kind of walk through that?
Sure. So I was a member of TMSA prior to becoming executive director, and I was what we call now a partner member. So I was somebody who sold into the membership. So I sold CRM, CX software integrations. And one of our primary industries was transportation. So I got introduced to TMSA because our main sales targets were sales and marketing professionals. And from walking in the door at TMSA, I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh, these are like my people. I love everyone I'm meeting. I love talking to them. And I came in on the marketing side. I was director of marketing at the firm I was at, and I had to then learn more about sales. And it gave me kind of that safe space to ask really dumb questions to then be better at creating sales enablement content for my team and like actually providing things for them, which was really, really helpful. So like, that's something I always encourage. Like, I love going to TMSA because you can find people that are in your similar role and you can have those conversations, but you also get to meet people on the other side or people that are more advanced than you. And you kind of have the whole well-rounded experience. And we keep pushing that and try to be more equitable and inclusive and keep building that as well. So I came into TMSA that way, fell in love with it, joined the education committee first and was on that for a couple of years. And then I took over, Whitney is on the education committee now. And then I took over the marketing committee over COVID and joined the board of directors. And then I knew that the previous management firm was kind of looking to hand it off to somebody else to kind of modernize the association. And at one point I was like, why don't I just do it? Which just seems crazy now, but here we are almost 3 years later from that. And it's been, everything that I've put into for the past 3 years and really trying to modernize the brand. We have a new website. We have a new member portal. We've launched different types of events. We've really tried to open ourselves up. We launched the DEI task force, which Whitney is also on, and try to make sure that we diversify on our board of directors too. So like Whitney is a board member. I'm really proud that we have both like more veteran aged people and younger people coming in, fresh blood, so that we're getting a whole different types of perspective on that as well. And things like that are really important to me. And also the thing that Whitney does, I keep talking about her because I work.
I mean, in your defense, she's pretty dope.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And like, I work for TMSA, I get paid to be here, but everybody else besides Tiffany doesn't. Everyone else here serves because they believe in the mission and it matters. And Whitney is one of those people. And we've actually been able to launch like a community give back program through TMSA. And we've worked with different community groups, both in Savannah last year at Elevate and in New York. Sorry, I have a sinus infection. So like trying to grapple and stuff. That's why I have my water. But we also then worked with a community group in New Orleans too. So our past two like bigger conferences, we've been able to make like tie blankets and give them to the Children's Hospital in Savannah. And then we worked with like homeless and helping like mothers be able to have blankets and give back and things like that in New Orleans. And that's really important to me too. Like, we are a trade nonprofit. We're not your technical nonprofit, but what we do is to give back to the transportation community. But why not be able to do that and take it a step further and give back to the communities that we're visiting at our conferences as well?
Super cool. Whitney, anything else to add? Also, you're very involved with TMSA. I mean, I know of it from afar, so I can't really speak to it. Please, I mean, give us some more insight.
I have so much to add. I may have bit off more than I could chew when I started getting involved in every committee and every task force. But to Jen's point, we're so much more than just like sales and marketing. Like, yes, one of the things that was attractive to me as a young leader that was in an executive position in my 20s was that I could walk in and ask really specific questions. And nobody was closed-handed with their resources, with their knowledge, with their experience, with their suggestions. And that's something that I found to be very valuable. Like, if I were to look at the membership price of what we invested as an organization, what I took away from that, what I implemented in the company, I would say the ROI was like triple what the investment actually was. And that to me is incredibly important. And that was just one person on the marketing end walking in, looking for resources and information for my organization. And then I look at other organizations that have like 3 or 4 people that show up and that are involved and that use the resources that are available. And I'm like, I mean, their return on what they're able to bring back to their company is astronomical. And then, the give back was a bit of a passion project that Jen and I talked about, and it came to fruition. We love that we're able to not only give back to the members with, great content, networking opportunities, different brand alignment, depending on what you're doing while you're there, but giving back to the cities that are hosting us. And I think at this executive summit in New Jersey, so in just less than a month, we should be announcing the give back for next year. And as of last year, we've kind of set the standard that in December, we're able to kind of give back twice to the same organization. So some sort of like Christmas initiative, which is great for individual contributors. If it, like last year was an Amazon wish list, you could just go in, purchase something and move on. But that is something that companies can begin to incorporate if they are looking for some sort of like social responsibility program. It's a really easy way to get like plugged in and do something without a lot of lift behind it. So I'm a mega fan of TMSA. I'm very biased about it though.
We'll take that bias.
But yeah, I think it's really important to the community aspect of TMSA is very strong. And that's really, people I think come for the education a lot of the time, and then they end up staying for the networking piece. Like both are two like critical components of who we are and what we do. But, the freight market isn't always the easiest place to work in, and it can be challenging.
No.
And, I think especially on the marketing side, but I think it's applicable for sales too. Like a lot of times you're alone or siloed and you feel like you're just on this island by yourself, and being able to come together and talk to people who are going through that same journey or or have weathered the storm before. Like if you're newer to the market, this year has been the first kind of really tough year. And so, but talking to people that have been like, yes, and then it'll come back up. And then having that perspective is really helpful for a lot of people. And they're like, okay, like it is hard, but it is going to be okay. And like having that and having those people that you can talk to, I think are really important. And I really like we do have our Elevate conference, but that's one 3-day event of the year. But like joining committees, coming to executive summit, all of those things, we're there year round. Like we have a Slack channel and people can message me all day, every day if they have questions for me. And most people, I mean, they can email me and stuff too, but like quick questions or like talk to each other, shoot things out. And we're always looking for new ways to engage both virtually and in person to meet the needs of the members and the industry at large.
Yeah.
So it's actually, that was a good segue. You mentioned earlier about the kind of being siloed between sales and marketing. Especially right now with the way the market is, as challenging it is, why is marketing so crucial for transportation providers?
So I think that it's one of those things that always gets the first cut. And then people are like, oh, why don't people know who we are, what we do? And it's because you're not telling them. You're letting somebody else tell your narrative and your story. And so I think it's really important to be mindful of those things. And of course, when you don't have extra funds, you can't do like crazy big campaigns, but you can be smarter with what you're doing and also make sure that your people are supported to be able to tell. Like I like it. Unfortunately, there's still like friction between sales and marketing people at like a lot of companies, but like at the end of the day, you both are trying to make money. You both have the same goal. You're just part of the cycle, like different parts of the cycle. So like bring it together, have those conversations, but it really shouldn't just be them. that are part of those I actually did this presentation at Modex this year, and I talked about brand alignment and how it's not just sales and marketing that needs to be aligned, even though that's a pretty good step one, but like you should also look your customer support and your billing. Those people all have touch points with your customers. And I was laughing because in my presentation, I was like, can 4 people come sit on stage? Really, like you literally just have to sit there. Like you're just a model. And only 2 people got up and sat there. I'm like, this is actually even better because 4 people should be showing up and 2 people are sitting down, and we're missing that. And if you don't include marketing in those conversations, if you don't have marketing, then you're not a unified voice, and it gets very confusing. So what are you putting out in the market? What are you selling? How are you telling them? Or like a disconnect between, okay, we're putting something out like on social and email. We have this type of capacity, but your salespeople are then like, we don't actually have that. We don't have space for that right now. We should be selling this other part of the market. Or maybe that salesperson's like, well, I get more money here, so I'm going to keep pushing these lanes or whatever. But the account managers are like, no. And your billing is like, what is happening to the rest of you? Why are we getting yelled at? And I feel like all of those people need to come together and give a unified voice. And I think it's really important too, when you're talking about like brand alignment, brand identity, that your marketing person is shadowing those different people. Yeah. Like that's how I learned about sales. I came to TMSA and talked to people, but also I just sat in sales calls all the time and listened to my sales team. I made my boss at the time come to trade shows with me. Like I made him do, because he's like, I want you to learn how to handle this yourself. I'm like, great, I can, but I need to hear you talk. I need to hear your 2-minute pitch, and I need to hear it about 50 times so that I can master it myself and match all of the marketing, the digital, the trade show pitches, the handouts, the pamphlets, everything needs to be unified.
Right.
Wait, this revelation knowledge here. You're saying organizational alignment leads to a consistent customer experience?
Yeah, it's really...
What? Insane.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm a genius.
You've never been in the trenches. You don't know. Sorry, having sat in those exact same meetings and listened to these same arguments, it isn't revelation knowledge. Like this is really business 101. But you're 100% right in that there seems to be this disconnect in this silo between marketing, sales, ops, finance, and then the executive team too. There's a whole other level of that, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're seeing it from, this is the story we want to tell. Cool. Mm-hmm. You can want to tell that story, but there's also a story you need to tell right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I love about TMSA is at every single conference, there is generally going to be a session where 1 to many people are talking about how to have those conversations, how to have them with your teams, how to have them with leadership, how to advocate for one side, how to advocate for the other side, how to speak to one another, results that you should be looking for. Like it is an ongoing conversation that I feel like Jen ensures does not die out because it needs to be said over and over and over again. People are still seeking those solutions. And sometimes like they're not there to hear it, or they're new to the organization and walking in with the same problems that people had last year. So we keep that conversation and that narrative moving forward. And I will say it is very helpful. There are tactics that I have used that have turned into revenue down the road.
Say it again for those in the back. That's real. What do people respond to? They respond to revenue. They respond to new logos. But that's what TMSA is designed to do, is to help you get those and keep them, right? Because your market doesn't stop when you acquire a customer. You continue to market to customers well after they start paying you. And so I think it's an incredibly important thing. I know we're coming up on time here, so we want to respect everybody's time. One thing to call that TMSA just celebrated its 100th anniversary, which, to be fair, like, it's kind of crazy because I had no idea what it was until I met you, Jen. So one, kudos to you for the great marketing, get it out there.
Thank you.
Talk about that milestone, and then what's the plan for the next 100 years?
Yeah, it is quite a feat for any entity to hit 100 years, let alone like a trade nonprofit for marketing people. And I say that because it started for marketing people. And then we also added sales side in 2011. So it was quite the celebration at Elevate to get there. And one of the things that we did to celebrate that was I had a couple of our board members pretend like they were the guys from 1924. And they came out in like suspenders and hats.
No.
And I gave them like this little script. They all agreed to do it without question, which I was shocked. And then as they did that, I was like, okay, and then what you're going to do is at the end, you're going to be like, who knows, like where this will go. Maybe one day we could even be run by a woman and give like a big obnoxious winker face, because all of the original stuff was like men's group, because it was 1924. Like we just got the right to vote then, like as women. And so like it was, so I was like laughing, and they gave this big winker face. And then I kind of came out dressed like Willy Wonka, and I sang Pure Imagination. And this is on YouTube. And I
am reposting this like as soon as this episode drops. That is incredible.
And I came out and I had like an awesome hat. I can get it. Hold on.
I had no idea this happened. How did I miss this?
And so I wore this hat and I sang Pure Imagination. And then we had a slideshow like of all of the history, like all of the people through. And then we like called out people. I'm not actually going to wear this the whole time. But we called out people who were like significant parts of the, like Denny Grimm has been a part of the association for 50 years. Like he was like the first, I made him wear this obnoxious like ribbon that said it's clearly a 50th birthday ribbon, but I didn't care. I just made him wear it the whole conference. And like the previous management company, and we did like have the whole board stand up and things like that, because to me, like I said at the beginning, like I am paid to be here. I love it. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. But it is a community, and the people, the volunteers, the members, they're the ones who have pushed it forward. They're the ones who allow me to be here. And so being able, I was like, it was my idea. And I was like, I actually called Trey. He was like, I called Courtney Keenan first. And I said, how crazy am I? And she goes, how long are you going to be singing? Because it could get weird. And I said, only for like a minute and a half. She's like, okay, approved. And then I called Trey, who I was like, he's going to think this is the best idea ever because it's dancing and singing and stuff. But
yeah, it's totally Trey.
Yeah. And I was like, but I just feel like, because in our opening keynote was the power of storytelling. And so I felt like we had to find our own way to tell our story. And so that was like part of the opening. And then we, the night, our opening cocktail reception, we did a second line. So we did a walk through the streets of New Orleans with the big band and stuff. And so we did a lot of that kind of stuff. But the coolest parts to me have been like reaching out to members and getting their like minute clip of what the association has meant to them, and like compiling those pieces together and really looking through all of the old photos and seeing how long this has been established and why we keep pushing it forward, because we do want to be here for another 100 years. And I think the way that we do that is continuing to listen to the members in the market about how do we continue to meet those needs. And it can be a challenge because things change fast, and professional development isn't always the thing people want to invest in either. And so keep having those reasons and trying to provide that support for them. That is our mission. That's
amazing. Please tell me one of these guys that was dressed up had a monocle. Because like I feel that's very 1920s.
They didn't. They had cigars in their hands, and they wore suspenders and top hats.
Still, that's so dope. Yeah, we'll definitely have to post that video in the comments.
And we kept it. I got approval from the executive board. I didn't tell the full board because our full board is like 24 people, and that would not have been kept a secret if it was. So it was like just the executive board and then a couple other people, because I also like had beach balls with like the 100-year logo on it. Mm-hmm. So I needed people to like throw those out. So like we had to have like a couple people that were like managing the theatrics of it. But it was at keeping that a secret. And then we did recognize 2 Lifetime Achievement members in Candy Sidebader and David Hoppins, and neither of them knew. And be like those 2 things that we were able to keep secret were my favorite parts of conference, because we're sales and marketing people. We are chatty. And so I couldn't believe, and I said I was announcing 2, and I announced Candy, and then David locked eyes with me and was like, I know this is like, at that point he knew. He knew he was going to be the second one. And it was so funny because I made him talk on stage about his experience at TMSA, and Candy had also spoke on her experience earlier in the day. And so I liked that a lot, because then even if someone was new to TMSA, they heard both of their stories and like what TMSA had meant to them. And so that was really cool. But it was like funny, like his eyes were like, I now understand why I had to do that. Okay. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Whitney, you have a very exciting announcement.
We have an announcement between Freight Movement and TMSA. So as we've talked about, the Executive Summit is coming up just under a month. Today is September 18th. So the official next coffee meetup is going to be co-hosted with TMSA and Freight Movement at the Executive Summit.
Let's go.
We're going to be meeting up the day before the event starts. We will post the actual details, where, when, the whole 9 yards after this airs. But if you're watching this, you are the first to know that we are partnering together with the shared interest of bringing in community and talking about what's happening in the industry with a more honest and open dialogue.
Awesome. Wish I could make that one, but definitely will be there soon. So
we'll see you in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, I'm tough to miss. Jennifer, anything else? Floor is yours.
No, just I love that I got to come on the show. I find you guys as co-hosts very funny together, because I know you separately and in different worlds. And so I like and you're very different people. So this is fun.
We are. But to be fair, like, that's one of the reasons I really enjoy working with Whitney, is because we are so different and is very different personalities, but it's good. It works well.
Mm-hmm. So, but if anyone is interested in learning more about TMSA, feel free to reach out to me. And our website is www.tmsatoday.org.
And where can folks get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah, good point. Jennifer at tmsatoday.org, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm there and respond pretty fast, I think.
And occasionally you'll see her on Word on the Street on Fridays.
Yes. If you want to hear a bunch of people talk about nonsense for an hour,
we are excellent.
Hang out with us. and then there's like really smart things that are said interwoven between the nonsense.
Yeah. Those are not said by me. I'm just there for comic relief and conspiracy theories. So.
Yeah, I feel like, yes, the conspiracy theories for sure. Yeah, I like to be a floating head, and I say smart things sometimes, but most of the time I'm just laughing at you and Kyle. That's like
that's valid.
That's what I'm there for. And I put things in the side chat that just everybody else can, just like the people on the show can see. I just disrupt the show. I think my favorite was when Kyle called me out when I wasn't listening to Trey while I was co-hosting, like sitting next to him. Like we were in person together and I was still ignoring him, and Kyle made fun of me for it. But I think did my internet just time out?
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. It was a little delayed, a little slow motion, but it's all right. Awesome. Well,
Jennifer, I made it through most of the show with my internet working properly, so that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, exactly. We got 38 good minutes, so we can that's all we can ask for. Anyway, moving on from that statement. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. Whitney, anything else?
No. Oh, Jen is kicking off season 3 of The Mediocre Marketer as well. So you will see her face everywhere for the next couple of months.
I'm with it. What a great face to see.
Yay.
So with that, this has been another Freight podcast.
Thank you guys.
See you guys.